Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins, thanks so much for being here.
It's good to be here with you.
So I think we can both agree that a top issue facing the legislature and the state overall is its finances. The state is facing a budget deficit north of $10 billion. You may be back in December, or if not, you'll be back in January. But whenever you do come back to Albany, do you have any immediate plans for addressing the budget crisis? I know there have been a lot of ideas thrown out there.
Well, as you said, the deficit is huge. We are looking at just a number of possibilities, clearly, from revenue raisers we're just trying to figure it out. Our big hope, as I always say, is that we have a federal government that actually is a partner with us and will look at state and local governments not as the enemy, not as a blue state bailout, but as part of what government does to show that it actually functions. So we are hoping that whatever it is, it will help us out of an extremely desperate situation, and certainly one that New York can recover from once we get this virus under control. So I think, like every other state, our only focus is getting rid of the virus and rebuilding our economy. But of course, in the interim, we are concerned about the toll that it's taking on so many New Yorkers. And so to the extent that we can avoid people losing their homes and really getting crushed under the weight of the economics of this virus, we want to be helpful in that way too.
You bring up a really good point about people losing their homes, and I'm thinking about tenants. What can we expect from the Senate and Democrats in the Senate? I don't want to have you speak for the Assembly, obviously, but do you have any plans for providing some relief for tenants? We know that the eviction moratorium is kind of ongoing, it's kind of fuzzy, but what can we expect in the immediate future?
Well, I think what we want is clarity, because we don't want fuzziness. And obviously, we're still in the midst of a pandemic. And circumstances, unfortunately, have changed, but not to the extent where people can go back to their lives as they've known them. So you can expect for us to do exactly what we continue to do, which is find ways that we can clear up the fuzziness, keep people in their homes, and overcome the virus. So then we can worry about the next steps. But we are absolutely concerned about eviction and trying to figure out a way that people can stay in their homes, keep their homes, and feel at least that level of security as we go forward.
Some Democrats have called for the legislature to come back into session immediately and pass tax hikes on the rich. Of course, this is part of the conversation about the deficit overall. I know that people are pushing for you to come back this month in December. Are you planning a return back to Albany before the end of the year?
Again, we're not planning or not planning. What we are doing is trying to figure out what makes sense. The budget hole is extremely large. Our opportunities to fill that hole, are debatable, especially within, the next couple of weeks. So there is a reality to coming back. When we come back, we want to make sure that we are at least doing things that will help the people who are most desperate for help. That is the bottom line of why I would be coming back.
Do you think when you do come back, whether it's this month or next month, you will have an immediate package of something to pass in terms of tax hikes, revenue raises, or do you think that it will be a wait and see in terms of waiting for President-elect Joe Biden to come into office and possibly negotiate that aid package for the state?
Well, the thing is, I have a revenue working group. We have worked extremely well together, and this is a way that I get all of the various voices and ideas to the table. So we do have things that we are working on and feel comfortable with. So we always like to be prepared and with certain solutions. So we are definitely working on that. So I think all of the above is true. And as we get into whatever we do this year, if we do anything, there's obviously we will start session technically on January 6th, and it begins. But we will have things that we can bring to the table that we feel confident will be helpful. As I said, I don't think anybody should feel that we alone in this state government can do everything to get us out of the hole, which, as you said, is northward now of $10 billion for this current fiscal year. And then for the next, it's $16 billion. The hole is large. And so there's no one should think that we could come up with that much money as a state. So whatever we do, we are desperately in need of federal assistance, and I continue to underscore that because that is the reality.
You know, switching gears, because I don't want to just talk to you about the budget. When you first won the majority 2 years ago, and you came into office with the first Democratic majority in about 10 years in the Senate, you really hit the ground running with a lot of really big bills, like the Reproductive Health Act, enshrining abortion protections into state law, the Child Victims Act, a lot of really big things that you've been pushing for a long time. Now you're going back to Albany with 43 seats, 3 more seats than you had in the last session. Do you have anything that you want to get done immediately? What are your top priorities as you come into Albany with this bigger, stronger majority?
Well, first of all, you mentioned some important things, but I want to remind New Yorkers that for the first time we had early voting. That was the very first thing that we did when we came in with this majority, because we understand how important that franchise is. And we've done a number of things to expand the franchise as well. So one of the things that we'll definitely be doing when we come back is passing for the second time the constitutional amendment that will allow for us to have no excuse absentee voting, so that in our future, which is so unpredictable, clearly, we will have the whole range of options. So, yeah, you know, coming back now with the supermajority, it's heartening because, first of all, it says that New Yorkers liked what we did, that we did hit the ground running. We did extraordinary things, whether it was on climate or women's rights or MWBEs, you know, the list goes on, you know, police reform, so everything. And people liked it, so they sent us back. And that's incredible. But because we are faced with this pandemic that has taken the lives of so many of our family members and this, you know, people we know, and we have not gotten that under control, it's hard to really think of anything that would be more important than that. So it's obviously recovering from this pandemic, you know, in terms of our health as well as our economy. And then, you know, we will be able to continue to you know, do the kinds of things that New Yorkers expect us to do with, again, a stronger majority than ever.
All right, well, we'll see what happens in January, or if you're up here sooner. Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Dan. It's good to see you.